As a scrapbooker with a creative bend towards customizing, I often wonder, what is that font? This is video 1 of a 2-part set showing my fail-proof way to use the What Font Is website. Here's why every scrapbooker should know about the What Font Is website and how to navigate it. I created this scrapbook page using Cindy Rogers' Just Peachy scrapbook kit. She had some word strips and word art that I absolutely loved, but I wanted to add additional word art with more specific words to match my photos. And to do that, I wanted to use the same fonts as Cindy did so that my word art will match hers. Here's what I did. I used the What Font Is website to identify many of the fonts that Cindy used in her kit. Then I was able to finish up my scrapbook page. The first and most important step for using the What Font Is website is to make sure you have the right image. This can be tricky. Good examples to use would be a screenshot from anything on your computer, like something from a web page or a document. A word strip from a scrapbooking kit would be perfect, but so would any word art from a scrapbooking kit. Images to avoid would be images that contain letters that are not complete, or images that contain letters that are hand-drawn and likely not a registered font. Also, using an image that contains letters that are not in good contrast to their background is also not a good idea. I'm beginning here in expert mode of Photoshop Elements with a word art from Just Peachy by Cindy Rogers. If you're using Adobe Photoshop, the instructions for this video are exactly the same, except where noted. You will encounter 2 types of fonts when using the What Font Is website. One will be a print font, and that's where none of the letters of the word are touching, and the other would be a script font, where generally all of the letters touch in some way. We'll handle those 2 types of fonts slightly different, but let's start with the print font. The first step you'll want to take is to isolate the word that contains the font you wish to identify. And we'll do that with the lasso tool. In the tool options, make sure that the new selection icon is active and then set the feather to 0 pixels. On the document, click and drag a selection outline around the word that contains the font you're looking for. You'll want to make sure when you draw the selection outline not to include any parts of the other words that are on the word art. Then press Ctrl-J, Command-J on a Mac to duplicate the selection to a new layer. In the Layers panel, click on the visibility icon of the original layer to hide it. Next, you'll want to turn the image black and white. That will make it much easier for the What Font Is website to identify your font. With that duplicate layer active in the Layers panel, in the menu bar, choose Filter, Adjustment, Threshold. If you're using Adobe Photoshop, you would choose Image Adjustment Threshold. In the dialog box, move the threshold slider to the left or the right until the word comes into laser focus. If you drag it too far to the right, it's going to all fill with black. And if you drag it too far to the left, it's going to all fill with white. You want it to be closer to the black side, but you don't want there to be any artifacts left behind or pixels from the background. You want it to be a nice and clean black and white image. When you're finished, click OK to the dialog box, and then you'll want to save your image as a JPEG image somewhere on your desktop so it's easy to find. We'll be using that image in the next video. Then, when you're finished, you'll want to close this original document. Next, we'll go over one more thing to note, and then I'll show you what's different about identifying a script font. Here I've made a different selection on my word art and also copied that to a new layer. Now I'm ready to add a threshold adjustment just like before. But you'll see when I move the threshold slider for this image that instead of having a black word on a white background, I have a white word on a black background. And that is totally okay. So once your word is all one color and your background is all the opposite color, click OK. But then before using the What Font Is website, you'll need to invert these colors. We need the letters of the word to be black, not white. The way to do that is to go into the menu bar and choose Filter, Adjustments, Invert. In Photoshop, that's Image Adjustments Invert. So that's the one thing different to note, but now we're going to talk about what to do with a script font where all the letters are connected. With the script layer active in the Layers panel, get the brush tool. In the tool options, open the brush picker and choose a hard round brush. Here in Photoshop Elements, you'll find that in the default brushes. In Photoshop, you'll find a hard round brush in the general brushes. We'll set the size of this brush to 5 pixels and the opacity to 100%. Next, press the letter D to reset the color chips to the default of black over white, and then press the letter X to make white the foreground color. Now on the document, click and drag to break the text. I'll click and drag a white line right here, a white line right here, and a white line right here. You do want to try to do a great job, but it doesn't have to be perfect. What's important is that you break the line that goes from one letter to the next letter. And now, just like before, you are ready to save this document as a JPEG file on your desktop for later use and close the original so that you do not alter it. In the next video, I'll show you how to use the JPEG file that you saved in the What Font Is website. This is Jen White with Digital Scrapper.